So this is a sample dialog that you would have in trusted mode. I haven't gotten past trusted mode yet because it just doesn't have that much information in it. But you might say something to it like, Greg's mother is Charlotte. And then the system will say, what does Greg's mother is Charlotte mean? Because it's never encountered that type of sentence before. So you say Greg's mother is Charlotte means that Greg has mother equal to Charlotte and that Charlotte has son equal to Greg. And then what it will do is it'll construct this type of graph relationship. So Charlotte has son, which is Greg, and Greg has mother, which is Charlotte. Okay. And then I say George's mother is Charlotte. George's mother is Charlotte. So she has another son named George, and there's a separate instance of mother here because this is George's mother and this is Greg's mother. But they have basically the same relationships. And it will say, okay, what are some other words for Charlotte? So there it's asking for some reference that will point to Charlotte. So basically the idea is each time the system encounters a sentence structure it's never seen before, you explain it using the simpler ones that it has. Or, in a lot of cases, because I'm just starting out, it can't be covered by some of the simpler ones, and so I have to hard code a new instance. But the amount of times I have to do that is decreasing very quickly. And the way I'm building this is with this graph database that's pseudo open source called Neo4j. I say pseudo open source because it also has a commercial license if I decide to commercialize the product, which I don't foresee. And then everything's done in Java except for some prototyping, which I do in Mathematica. The reason I don't do it all in Mathematica, like Wolfram Alpha is, mostly because I want other people to get involved, and Mathematica is a little hard to get your hands on. It's, it costs $200 and change, and yeah, that's pretty much the only barrier. Oh, it's also a functional programming language, which a lot of people can't handle. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions about Wolfram Alpha, which is why I didn't cover it too much in the presentation itself. But I'm looking for collaborators and good ideas, so feel free to contact me. Thank you.
I'll just address a little bit more about the distinction between hard-coded sentence patterns versus parsing sentences.
Okay, so the reason I need hard-coded sentence patterns is to create a mapping between graph operations and the natural language stuff. So, from a basic level, thing has another thing, or thing has a property. Is a really basic. So, like, objects have height. You just need the system needs to know that refers to a thing called whatever the object is, in this case the class object, and has relationship goes to the property height. And it's not fully unambiguous in English, but as I said, I'm working sort of in this trusted mode where I'm not completely free to use natural English, but if I use this subset, then everything works out.
For every sentence pattern, there's a graph associated with that.
Right. And mostly it's, everything gets stored in the same graph database. So the sentences are operations on the graph, not a graph themselves.
You told us that the way the system learns is by Greg's mother Greg has a model of the sentence, and then you have a question related to that to the sentence. That's the way the system learns. Is it how do Do you have a website where you can go to and you can learn your specific project?
I really would like to open it up, but the problem is there's some just sort of logistical problems, like how do I make sure that they're telling it things that are correct, right? In this trusted mode, it's actually building up knowledge. In later, I'm of course planning to have this actual chat interface, right, where you it knows all of these sentence patterns and it knows all of this information, and you're able to tell it things, but it doesn't necessarily assume that those things are correct. And I don't really have a great idea about how to make that distinction, honestly. Some kind of weighting is probably what I'm going to go with. And also, on the output side, I'm on even more shaky ground, honestly, because it has, you've just given it a piece of information, and, I guess it could ask a question, but that's not how normal human conversations go, right? It's not like information, question, so creating assertions, it could be a know-it-all and say like, oh, did you know blah, 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 some related fact from its database? But, there's, I have a lot of work to do before I open it up, basically. Sure. Yeah.
It just strikes me that the whole authoritative interlocutor issue is one that the late Bush Singh encountered with OpenMind.
Yes.
I don't know if you pressed OpenMind, but some of the some of the propositions are pretty wild, like shower curtains do not taste good. The one I particularly liked was where he said, "Want to tell a story, find a child."
Okay. I'm just going to try and take.
But have you looked at comparing a sort of a corpus of utterances from someone that you're trying to qualify as an authority, and mapping them back to things that the system does know? So,
yeah, again, the problem is that it all has to be supervised, because there's no guarantee when I input a given sentence that it'll match any pattern that I have yet. Mm-hmm. There's also the problem of ambiguity, but that's a more soluble problem from my perspective. Mainly, it's just I or someone who knows what the system already knows has to put these things in. Now, there might be a way to, in a concise way, list sort of what's already in there, but from a usability perspective, it seems a little forced. Yeah.
Given that, given that it's going to take a very, very long time to put in enough sentences, what is the aim in the next couple of years for this project?
I was actually thinking that a limited goal might be something like a talking appliance, because they have to know a very limited set of things. So, like, your toaster has to know what temperature it's at and how long it's going to take to cook this piece of toast and things like that. So, if you can chat to your toaster and say, cook this piece of toast for 45 seconds, I'll consider that a minor victory.